Everyone knows that since I'm a psychic medium, I have the ability to speak with people who've crossed over into the afterlife. But something that people don't realize is the number of different cases that I help and consult on. The job of a psychic medium is never done, and these are my stories. A few years ago, I was contacted by a young woman by the name of Beth. Beth sought me out after some trusted people that she knew had recommended me to her. Beth begins the conversation in rather an urgent manner. "Is this Justin Cardoza?" "Yes," I said. She continued, "Justin Cardoza, the psychic medium?" Right away, my psychic senses are jumping. There is something dreadfully wrong, and this woman is seeking much-needed help. Beth was experiencing some activity in her home and has been for some time. She began to tell me of the various things that were happening: lights flickering, items being moved, knocks, bangs, etc. You know, the usual things that you would think of when talking about paranormal activity. Now, these things had been going on for around 6 months or so, but her situation had recently become more dire, as the activity had been steadily increasing over the past few months. This increase in activity had culminated into her being physically touched, which was the final straw for her. As she was explaining the gradual ramp up, I could feel her anxiety give way to full-blown fear. I knew something had to be done. So I tell Beth that I'll investigate what's happening. Now, as I'm telling her how I work, she throws in the fact that she is a paranormal investigator. So, naturally, I then ask, "Then why haven't you figured out what's happening in your home?" But her answer was quite telling. "It's different when it's happening in your home. I feel totally helpless." Ah, there it is. Now, this speaks volumes. This is what happens when people attempt to investigate the paranormal when they have no clue as to what that really entails. People seem to have gotten the idea that if you have an electronic voice recorder, an EMF meter, and a FLIR gun, then you can investigate the paranormal. But nothing could be further from the truth. Just because you watch shows that do this, it does not make you qualified to pursue such actions. And while I totally understand the curiosity factor, investigating hauntings is serious business, and it could lead to adverse effects for the uninitiated. All of the electronic equipment in the world is not going to help a spirit that's stuck, and it's definitely not going to help get rid of a malevolent spirit. So now, armed with the knowledge of Beth's hobby occupation, I proceed to look into her situation. Before any investigation is made or started, a psychic medium has to go through a rigorous process to ensure that everything is done in a safe manner. It begins with meditation and a prayer of protection. Only when the prayer of protection is complete and the protection is firmly in place can the investigation proceed. Now, as I approached the home, I could sense right away that there was an entity lurking within. Defenses up. As I touched the doorknob, I felt the unmistakable electric chill of a presence close by. With the turn of the knob and a push of the door, I felt an unearthly resistance to my presence. Now this piqued my curiosity. There was a significant drop in temperature as I crossed the threshold of the front door. I felt an energy bolting around sporadically. Even though there was no one within the home, it felt incredibly crowded. And being in the home for only a minute or two, I'm trying to get my bearings and hone in on the energy's location. With each step inside, I feel the energy increase exponentially in intensity. It's trying to throw me off balance, but that'll never happen. With the intensity being ramped up, I begin to hear noise, random noise, like a roar of a large crowd that gradually gets louder and louder. How many are here? Is this what she's feeling? The sound raises to a deafening level, and then, all of a sudden, clarity. I'm able to see it all. Through the rapid movement of energy swirling around me, and over the raucous sound of a crowd getting louder and louder, I see exactly what's happening, and I call it out. You can stop with all of this nonsense. Your little display, while impressive, it doesn't frighten me because I can see you. Then, all at once, everything goes dead quiet. Everything goes still. No energy, no sound. With the slamming of a door, even more clarity washed over me. There were not many spirits lingering. There was only one. And with the slamming of the door, I instantly connected with it and went right for it. Now, zeroed in and heading straight for the energy, I could feel everything coming from this spirit, and clarity set in even more and more with each step. So I got to the door that was slammed, and I could feel the energy of a spirit behind it. There was no movement, there was no noise. As I opened the door, I felt the spirit's energy wash over me. Fear. The spirit was afraid. As I enter the room, I see a huddled mass in the far corner of the room. It was the spirit of a young man cowering in the corner and hiding his face. He was very obviously scared of me, saying, "Leave me alone, I didn't do nothing." Hey, it's okay. Talk to me, I'm not here to harm you. At that point, he shyly turned towards me, still being very cautious and not really knowing what to think. So I continued on. Hey man, my name's Justin, what's your name? Now his response was the first thing that threw me for a loop. I'm not allowed to talk to strangers, he said. He said this while he's still huddled in the corner. Now, I realized right away that this was something unique. This was something that I had not encountered before. The frantic energy and the loud noise that I encountered when I first entered the home, that wasn't an attempt at a spiritual attack. No, instead, it was self-defense. It was a self-defense response emanating from this spirit, out of fear. This man is really scared of me. Now, the important thing when dealing with spirit is always aiming to be as effective as possible. I need to get information from this man. He is not going to give it while in this state of fear. So I said, "Well, I certainly understand that. That's good policy not to speak to strangers, but I told you that my name was Justin, so we aren't really strangers anymore, are we?" Now that seemed to resonate with him, and he turned around and looked at me. So I gave him a smile. "Hey man, I tell you what, why don't you come out of that corner and tell me why you're here? Maybe I can help." Now in situations like this, it is important to understand that a good bit of the communication is done via feeling. And with that said, I could feel his fear begin to dissipate as he slowly started to arise and come out of the corner. As he approached me, I got a sense of his spirit. There was an innocence about him that was reminiscent of a child. But he was presenting as a grown man of, I'd say, approximately his mid-20s. Now, when investigating hauntings, you always want to understand why the spirit is staying in that location and making it obvious that they're there. So that's exactly what I asked him. So, what's going on? Why are you here? I asked. I followed the pretty lady. What do you mean you followed the pretty lady? Now, what followed was this spirit impressing on me not only the interaction that he initially had with Beth, but his entire life summed up in an instant. I see Beth climbing a ladder to the loft of a barn, raising the hatch and going through only about halfway into the dark area. She shined her flashlight all around, but she never fully entered the loft. Now, while shining her flashlight, she said, "Are there any spirits here? If so, come forward. I want to hear your side of the story." It was as if I was seeing this happen from the spirit's perspective. So immediately I felt another flashback showing me this spirit man's childhood. You see, this spirit, this poor guy, was mentally challenged in life. His mother died in childbirth, and he was the son of a farmer. As the only child, his father routinely ridiculed him for being quote-unquote stupid and called him a monster for murdering his mother. His only refuge was hiding in the barn loft that Beth had looked into that night. So I say to him, "My God, you've been hiding in that loft all this time?" "Yeah." "But why? Do you not see the light? Why don't you go to the light?" "Because Daddy said that God would never accept a murder dummy like me into heaven. When the pretty lady talked to me, I followed her because she was the only person that was ever nice to me and wanted to hear what I had to say." "So you followed her home?" "Yeah, but she doesn't listen." Ah, there it is. That was the key to Beth's issue. She didn't listen to his story when she said that she would. I mean, after all, how could she listen to his story if she isn't a psychic medium? The solution to this problem is clear. I must tell Beth his story with him there so that she understands, and that is exactly what I did. So as I begin to tell Beth the sordid story of this poor guy, I can see the gravity of the situation sink in. Beth realizes that she brought this situation on herself, but more importantly, she realized that she had made a promise to a spirit that she could not keep. Only after Beth heard his story and told him that she understood, it was only then that he chose to cross over and enter the light.